What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of PLD-1138, our Mandalorian version, as we are covering Mandalorian's latest episode, the tragedy. I believe it's chapter 14. It was a follow-up episode to probably the biggest episode of the season, potentially the biggest episode of the entire series run, according to some people, especially if you're a big fan of the lore like I am. But this one had a lot to live up to. I want to go around the table. I'm going to introduce the panel we have here, and I think we'll get into what we were wondering was this episode was going to be, what our projections were about this episode. Then we'll get into the full details of what went down. First of all, to my that side left, my brother from another mother, from Estonia, my friend from Class Action and Action Industries and all that jazz, Richard Eric Jarvie. How are you doing, buddy?
What's going on? Good to be back. This is a very, like you said, it's a follow-up episode, but so much happened. So I figured we'd get another filler, but it drove the story along. So I'm excited to get into it.
And of course, also joining us, become a regular on the show. Out of nowhere, he kind of happened to join us one episode, and then all of a sudden he's been on ever since. And I'm okay.
He won't leave.
He won't leave. I think he has the same StreamYard link. He just kind of keeps sneaking in and unexpected, and I'm just nice to kick him out. Maybe some bad.
I saw your account details when you fell asleep one night, Paul. And now I just know how to type it. I know the password. I know everything. What's up, guys?
How you doing, Matt? You doing good?
Yeah, doing great, man. Happy to be here with you gentlemen to talk possibly my favorite show right now. Creeping into my top 5 shows of all time.
It might be a little early for me to say that, but I'm definitely loving it. It's definitely stemming the hunger from Star Wars. We're not getting a movie for a while. This has definitely filled that void, especially with the potential of more shows coming out, which I think we'll discuss a little bit at the end as well, potentially. Anyway, anyone in the chat that wants to throw in questions for us at any time, you don't have to be about Mandalorian. It can be about anything Star Wars wise if you want. Anything you want to touch base on, we can interrupt and talk about that. And of course, I should open up Streamlabs in case you guys do want to do that and help me out tremendously by donating to get your questions done. Either way, but let's start into the first part of this. What I'm going to talk about tonight was my preconceived notions of what this is going to be. And Jarvie, you kind of touched on it a little bit. I expected after the episode we got last week, which was the big Ahsoka episode, it was the big one everybody's going to be talking about. I expected this to be a filler episode, but I figured we weren't even going to go to Tython yet. I thought we were just going to go. I thought there was going to be some kind of in-between place, as Mandalorian tends to do. Like he has a journey in mind.
Ship fixed again or something. Yeah.
It's sidetracked before he has to come back and see it. But we didn't. I was so shocked. I'm pretty much right from the get-go. We're going right to Tython, see what's going to go down. So I was happy about that. What about you, Maddie?
I thought the same. I thought we were going to get perhaps on the way to Tython, the Empire kind of catch up with Din and Grogu, and they kind of throw in, a wrench into the works. Like they're not going to get to. I thought Tython would maybe be an appearance in like the last scene of the last episode. It's like, okay, we finally got here. We can put Grogu on the stone. Mission accomplished. But no, we went right there, and it was a pleasant surprise. Yeah. I think we're in deep now, so it's just all story. Let's go.
We're all in at this point.
Exactly. It feels like it's picking up speed. It started off giving us these, like you said, filler episodes, but now it's just trucking along, and it's amazing.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. Well, we open up with the little sequence, which almost seemed like it might be a throwaway, but I think really actually is very important. Establishing, again, more strongly establishing the relationship between Din and Grogu. As is definite now, if you can't deny it, father and son type relationship, where Grogu's like Din's teaching him a little bit. Grogu set up, but the whole idea is Din is trying to set Grogu up to either do more of the Force, but also to say we might be parting ways soon. He's looking. I mean, they're going to this temple to find a Jedi to train Grogu, and Din's telling him to be ready and make sure he's going to have to go with them. But it's almost a little bit more like he's trying to convince himself that he's got to get rid of the little guy. I don't think he likes that idea very much. But it was very cute. It was very fun. It was a very fun opening, I thought. What do you guys think?
It's getting a bit too cute, and it's scaring me because I feel like the anxiety is building. Also, the episode is titled "The Tragedy," so as soon as you see that title, you're like, "Oh no!" Because we've been getting so much awesome stuff. Something bad's gonna happen. I figured it was going to be Din getting injured badly, like in season 1. But yeah, I'm scared for there's going to be some sort of breakup. I think the season is going to end a Jedi showing up and taking Grogu, and the next season is going to start with them finally reuniting at some capacity. But
All right.
I don't know. It feels like this season will end in some sort of heartbreak.
It's already started. This episode ended up with a lot of heartbreak in there. But did you like the establishment? I know you said it's too cute, but did you like the establishment of how they're trying to do that, or is it getting to be too much for you?
No, it's perfect. That's what it's supposed to be doing. It's just I'm like too invested now. I'm too into it. It's just like Din. I'm in.
Are you in too, Maddie?
100%. Just the way that he got such a kick out of saying Grogu. It's like anytime I make a funny noise and one of my dogs looks at me like that.
Yeah.
It's like it's the cutest thing because like you're just making a noise and they're reacting to it like ooh, and it's the cutest thing. It's like and again seeing the title, The Tragedy, I thought, oh no, something. I don't want to know what's gonna go wrong, but I'm here, so let's let it happen.
Well, let's face it. I mean, all good tragedies have to start out by showing how happy you are before you pull the rug out from underneath you, right?
There was also, before we move on, the intro when Din said that we're gonna get you to a Jedi, like you're too powerful, I can't train you, like you want to learn the ways of the Jedi. I swear, like Grogu did like a like it felt like you want to be trained by a Jedi. Like it felt like that's what he said.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And Monty, I don't know. I haven't found it yet, so I guess we'll find out. They're going to keep pushing the boundaries. We'll find out. Okay, so let's move on a little bit. We go to they actually make it to Tython. I don't know how. I know, Richard, you're not as established with the lore as some people are. I don't know about you, Maddie, but Tython has been mentioned a few times before.
Did my homework a bit, so
I did homework
a bit about the origin, and that's where the original Jedi Temple was supposed to be before Coruscant.
Potentially, that's one of the things. That's one of the rumors they've had. I mean, it was in Legends before it was in canon. It was mentioned in the Darth Bane novels, and that's where the Jedi were. So that's an old school temple like that. Of course, now we have the Dr. Aphra comics I've visited there as well. So this is getting to be more and more important layer for the Jedi lore at this point. I like it as like a middle ground. It seems like there's potentially like it was like a Bane novel, so it has the potential of having some dark side energies to it as well as some light side energies. So it's interesting to see where that's going to mix. It kind of, for me, that's perfect for what we're looking for right now, because I keep getting the feeling that Grogu is going to be met by, and we'll probably get this a little bit later on as well, maybe not a Jedi per se, but something
that's
like
what I said last week.
Either a Sith or at the very least someone who is more of a rogue, not your typical Jedi, like someone like a Quinlan Voss to me, who has touched the dark side, not quite your council member Jedi at this point, so to speak. So either way, I think it's definitely an interesting place to start off. And I like the planet so far. I like the temple. It reminded me a little bit of Last Jedi, a little bit of like Luke and Rey with the rock, with how the rock was set up and everything else. And kind of actually reminded me a lot when Baby Yoda, Grogu, I still like to call him Baby Yoda.
That's fine.
Or Dave.
Matt is still calls him Dave.
Yeah, I still call him Dave.
Just like it almost felt like a little mirror to Last Jedi when he gets so tired after using the Force, he collapses all tired, just like Luke did. Well, Luke faded away and died, but that's all right. So I like that aspect of it. I like the runes on it, and when he reaches out and finally reaches out to touch somebody, reaches out and phone home, so to speak. That was kind of cool. Like also the energies go up, and
we get the butterflies first, though. Before he calls out, we get the butterflies, and the butterflies are supposed to like signify the light side.
Yes,
for sure. So that kind of takes out the maybe a dark side user will pop up, but
or it's
it could happen still, of course.
Red herring, you know what I mean, that kind of thing as well. I've seen butterflies in Battlefront. We've seen in Clone Wars, they're right on Endor. So it's interesting to see what that's going to be. But one thing I did want to mention real quick, and this is we have a segmented show, and it's not really segmented. I kind of tend to go through the episode as it goes on, but I always like to peek ahead a little bit. Can I tell you, the one thing, there's one minor issue I had was how many times is Din gonna say, "All right, kid, we gotta go," and then try to get his hands in there and get shot back? How many? You think Din learns at this point? Even if a kid touches a hot stove and burns himself, he knows better than to do it again. But Din's a little stupid.
He kept trying. He kept trying. Yeah.
You're gonna try a third time the same way. Try something different, buddy. You're not getting through.
And then when he's supposed to, just wait a few seconds. All right, I'm gonna go protect you. Comes back. You're like, no, this is not
the whole time. I was like,
moment.
stay with the kid. Do not move from the rock. Stay with the kid.
Right?
Like, okay, I'm gonna protect you. Oh, you moron!
I tell you, Din does some moron things every once in a while. He's a badass. He's a great character, but every once in a while, you're just like, come on, Din, come on now. You know better. You just know better.
We are jumping ahead though. Before he goes off to protect Grogu, there is something entering the atmosphere.
Yes, we look up, and Din looks up, and there it is, Slave One.
Oh, dude, if I don't get seismic charges at some point, I'm gonna like that is the best sound in Star Wars to me. I know there's like TIE fighters and lightsaber sound, but the seismic charge explosion or an implosion, what do you call it in Attack of the Clones? Right. That is the best sound effect I've heard in Star Wars.
That is one of my favorite.
I need those charges to go off, and I need to hear that again.
I hope so too. I really do. I gotta be honest, it's kind of funny. I'll do an overview here. Is that I was never the hugest Boba Fett fan. Like from original trilogy, he did his thing. He was great in Legends and everything else, but I always felt like he was very overhyped. We didn't really, it was over like you heard about how cool Boba Fett was. He's Darth Vader's number one guy, but all you really got in action from him was so he tracked Han down to Cloud City and then basically tattled and told Vader he was there. You see him in Jedi, he's there, he's doing his thing, and then he gets he goes out like a punk when Han knocks his jetpack off. He goes to the Sarlacc pit, right?
Yeah.
But there's a lot of fanboys loving it. Like, oh, Boba Fett this, Boba Fett that, Boba Fett this. Hey, it looked cool, so yeah, sure, cool. But I was kind of like, whatever. I wasn't really interested in Boba Fett. I remember they were like Josh Trank was going to make a Boba Fett movie at one point. That was in the works. I was kind of like, that's cool. I'll see it. It's Star Wars, but I wasn't very excited about it, very hyped about the character. Yeah, I fucking love Boba Fett right now. Yeah, I fucking loved Boba Fett in this episode, and he won me over in 32 minutes or however long this was. As soon as he comes out and you see him and you hear the voice, and you're like, okay, it's Tamir Morrison. It's Tamir Morrison. Oh, shit. Yes, that's exactly it, Monty. Right there. Mine's is the best. This episode did more for Boba Fett than any of the movies did easily by far. So I got hyped pretty quickly, and I was surprised at how hyped I was getting. And it was a little bit of fan service. Like, finally, Boba Fett. But I got all aboard the hype train there. I'm ready to go now. What were your first thoughts after you hear the voice, you see him pop in the screen? What were your guys' thoughts on it?
I lost my shit. I was watching it with my best friend Ryan last night. He was over here watching it because we watch it every week together. And we high-fived just hearing the voice. Like, we just turned around and the biggest high five was like, yes, it's him, it's him. And then knowing from the comics how Boba Fett is, hearing Din say, are you Jedi? And he had the hood up and he was going to and he pulled the hood down. I was like, oh, Boba Fett's going to pull some sneaky stuff here. He's going to be like, yeah, I'm totally a Jedi. Yeah. Hey, that kid up on the rock. You mind if I take him with me for a little bit?
That would be an interesting take on it. I wonder if that was going to be something. But I will say, like, it's kind of funny how it's set up. Some of the canon comics have been like setting up as this really pretty much a bad guy. He was like the evil guy in a way. Like, he's like he's not quite Darth Vader, and he's not quite like like dark side, but he was always very much for himself and everything else. This episode, it shows him in a little bit of a later sense, 5 years after his death. He seems definitely more noble, more ready to like accept life for what it is and just do what he needs to do, which is to him get his armor back. And let me tell you that quoting, I love what Dave Filoni does this best. He did Clone Wars a lot, he did in Rebels a lot. Just the callback quotes or the paraphrasings. Just a simple man trying to make my way in the galaxy.
That was perfect. That was perfect.
Yes.
I get emotional hearing those quotes, man. I'm like, Filoni, he speaks to my very soul.
You know what you're doing, man. You know what you're doing, right? So he gets in there, and then you see. We find out really quickly that Fennec Shand survived Ming-Na Wen from the first season, rather, and it just fulfills exactly what you said it was, Jarvis. You were on a review. You think we talked about it during that at some point? You said that's coming in, coming into the picture with his sirs, and he gets her and saves her, and it's exactly what happens. Now I don't know about you; it spoiled it a little bit for me because they did the whole. I'm going to show you something random in the previously on that makes no sense in the story.
They keep doing that. They keep doing that.
And also she's showing like, oh, so I guess we're going to get Ming-Na Wen in this episode, right? But it's good to see her. I think she's a great character. I'm glad that she survived. She adds a little bit of something to that world at this point in this galaxy as someone a strong female bounty hunter type character. She's a good foil for them, and she's definitely a good. She definitely adds something to the mix. Were you happy to see her? You like having her in the mix at this point?
Dude, what is she like? She got like she showed her like her stomach or whatever. That was like all like what is that? Because she just got shot. She doesn't have to have her like core replaced, or I don't know. It was all very like droid-like that she had going on.
Well, it's kind of like what happened to Luke's hand, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm probably getting too like distracted by the fact that how can you have stuff like I understand a ligament or something. Right. I feel like her like core is replaced now. It's like
it's probably more of a surface thing, maybe like her stomach or something. I don't know, but I get it. It was a little weird.
Half replaced.
That's true. That's very true. Also, but I see what he's saying. It's kind of like he's all human except for all of a sudden you open up her stomach and there's screws there. I get that's a little bit weird, a little bit off, but I was able to look past it. When she's a good enough character, you look past that kind of shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and also she felt like she was programmed now to do anything for Boba. Because she was like, sure, she had like, I owe my life to him now, but I don't know. She's like a really dangerous elite bounty hunter. Felt like that she like goes rogue the first chance she gets, but now she's like honorably following Boba.
Interesting. What's to say? Maybe that will also be something that comes into play because we're going to see more of them in the future, obviously. So, okay. So we get Fennec Shand in there, and then of course the stormtroopers attack.
Did you think they were Dark Troopers first time? Like, sure, Dark Troopers fly, but that was your first thought that they're going to come out of there?
I thought so, but the more I thought about it, I'm actually glad they didn't, and I'll tell you why. I think that I talked about this with one of my coworkers. They hated the fact that we got just so little. You just got that little bit at the end with them. Like there wasn't any kind of extent with them. I like what they're doing with the Dark Troopers because the Dark Troopers are they should be a big threat, and they're making them out to be. Like, so we get the visual of them like an episode ago or 2 episodes ago, wherever it was. This week we see them briefly do their job, get it done. So we're teasing this big confrontation. Eventually we're going to get this. But you need to have those teases in there to make it really solidly work. You just got to show them and send them in, and then they win or they lose. It doesn't. You have no anticipation. Now we have the anticipation. We want to see Boba Fett or Din take these guys on and see what's going to happen. You know what I mean? So I like the fact that they were end up being stormtroopers first.
Yep, and they don't do much. They just fly in and they fly off. So we're just getting that was just a tease.
Yeah, that for the Dark Troopers. But instead we have the Stormtroopers, which is fine. I'm always happy to see more Stormtroopers. I will say it was a little bit of a different visual this week with Robert Rodriguez directing. I mean, Robert Rodriguez is definitely a great action director. It definitely felt like more. It was almost too clean for me a little bit. It almost felt. There are times I thought it felt like, I don't want to say fan filmy, but like it had like a fan film sheen to it. Whereas like people dressing up, and I think part of that was because it seemed like it was more real, like it was more real life shot. If that makes sense.
That was probably shot on set, and me and Maddie talked about it. Like before I read any of the reviews or anything, I was like, this feels like they're out of the volume for the first time, and this feels like they're actually shooting on set.
Right.
And it turns out that they were, like Maddie said, it was in California somewhere, right?
Yeah. So I mean, so it's both good and bad to me. Like the good is I always like practical stuff. I like seeing real life stuff at the same time. But because we've done so much in the volume, it does have a difference to it. You know what I'm saying?
The lighting is definitely different. There was a lot of sunlight this time.
Right. So it feels like it's a little bit out of place. But not necessarily in a bad way. It didn't ruin the episode for me. But I did just notice it. Like, it was just noticeable to me, if that makes sense. So I mean, but Robert Rodriguez makes up for it with a lot of his style of action.
He can shoot action. Yeah, that was badass what we got.
I loved how it progressed, how the fight actually progressed. It went, okay, it's like a video game. It's like, okay, here's the first wave.
Game.
here's the first wave of stormtroopers. Okay, we deal with them. Here comes the second wave. Okay, there's more of them now, so Din has to get involved.
Right.
The third wave come. They're like, okay, we're really outnumbered now, and then Q,
right,
the legend himself, showing up.
That was the best part. I mean, have Boba fighting
before the Boba armor. Right. I think we should talk about the staff and how he fought. Like, what is that weapon? Like, that was new to me.
It looks like it's reminiscent of the Tusken Raiders.
It's a gaffy stick, isn't it?
The gaffy stick. It's not quite a gaffy stick, but I think it makes sense because if he was living in Tatooine for the last 5 years, he might have actually had run-ins with them, maybe even worked with them a little bit, like how Din and Cobb Vanth worked with them in that episode. Maybe it's the same type of situation where he teamed up with them or something, and he probably took that. Obviously, he didn't have his armor, so he didn't have his weapons. Maybe he had to take one of those and kind of readjusted it or personalized it to make that kind of kick-ass staff. It's so fucking good that, like, I'm watching this happen, and I'm watching with Kim, the way, and she likes action and stuff, but like she actually sat up and was like, damn, Boba's got skills.
Yeah, like crazy skills. The way he uses that staff.
And it was so badass. Like, I felt each blow. It was like this crunch. Like, you saw like the pieces shatter from the armor and stuff. You're like,
I don't think we've seen that.
No, never like that. It's always been much more clean. The story of violence is usually much more laser blast. People fly back, that you might see a burn hole or something. Maybe this was very violent and like very dirty. I loved it.
You could see it in his eyes as well. Right. He went like feral. You showed a picture before where Tamora Morrison looked angry and sort of like just unleashing. Like, that is that looks like a Sith look.
It does in a way.
That is like a dark side look.
But then of course it grows and grows and grows, and then we get that moment where there is Boba. He sees the Razor Crest, and that's what he's here for anyway. As we find out earlier, he's in for looking for his armor, which we discover, by the way, that Django is a foundling. So it kind of clears up. For a long time, there's this whole question: was Django and Boba actually Mandalorians? Were they not? How did that work? Some people said he were. Some people said they weren't. This cleared the whole thing up. He's a foundling, which makes Din really appreciate everything more, understand more, and actually have a kinship with Boba to a degree. But he gets that. He sees that Razor Crest open, and you're like, do it. Good.
Is he busy? All right. All right,
I'm going for it. And then that's where we get boom. He pops down. The bomb starts going off. It just looks like it's in the last second. Like Din and Fennec are losing ground a little bit. There's Boba, and holy shit! What's funny is that, I don't know if you guys, and I kind of think it's meant to be this way, but it's a little bit of a Boba with a dad bod, a little bit. Like
I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, he filled out the armor a little bit differently than he did before, but it worked. It
really worked.
Right. And it reminds you like it's like what we do on the action guys would say something like, it's like fat, sweaty crow. It's like, but he's got that like feel to it, like he's an old man, grizzled.
Old man strength.
old man strength, old man fat. And that's what it is. It's old man fat at this point. A lot older than he was, but he's kicking ass left and right. And that's really when I went all aboard the fucking hype train at that point. I was like, this is fucking awesome. I love Boba Fett now because he is like, and I almost hate saying it because we're watching Din. Boba Fett is much better than Din is at this point in that episode.
100%.
Well, he knows how to use that armor,
right?
Like for a really long time. You can see like what can someone do with the armor to have like full access and know all the kinks to it.
And he does everything, like the knee, the shots out of his knee.
Is that like whistling birds in the knee, or?
I don't think we're whistling birds to say, but they're just little rocket type things. Not quite whistling birds because they didn't go all over the place. I know they were in like, I want to say they were in a comic before. Or they were previously in like a Legends, but you never saw them live action, obviously. So seeing them like, oh yes, they're paying attention to that kind of stuff, and I love that. But yeah, the three of them actually fight off the stormtroopers, and they kick their ass. Stormtroopers run away, fly away. Then Boba, just like that episode before, just like the first episode of the combat, Boba shoots the thing, gets it, knocks it to the other one. And I love the line, good shot. Saving for
the other one.
Just that look as well. Like when the ship blew up, he just turned and looked, and then you hear his music as he's looking like at the camera. It's like, it's so good. And it's kind of like the armor is a character in itself,
right?
Because he goes from like this savage with the modified gaffy stick, that shot of like the stormtrooper that was already like on the ground, pretty sure he was already dead.
Right.
But Boba just takes a swing at it anyway. And then he comes in like sort of equilibrium style, just like shooting everything like all around him. I was like, what the hell? Like, it was amazing. It was amazing. That's the only word I can describe it. Just like watching it back in my head.
So good.
I need more.
Do you think Din's gonna get the tracking missile and the antenna on his helmet as well? Because I feel like that's like a Boba thing that he uses, like Cobb Vanth uses as well.
Yeah, I don't think he will. I think he's going to stay Boba's. I think they want to separate that and keep that a Boba Fett thing. I kind of feel that way. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But so this is when the Dark Troopers come down, and it was very reminiscent of
before the Dark Troopers come down. I feel like something else happens. The troopers take off. Stormtroopers take off. We see a glimpse of a blast. Bye-bye, the Razor Crest.
That's right. I kind of forgot that the Razor Crest died. Yeah, no, he's right. The Razor Crest died, explodes then. That's true. I was not. I gotta be honest with you. Like for some reason, I know a lot of people love the Razor Crest, and I thought it was a great ship. That didn't affect me as much as I thought it would. As much as
I love the Razor Crest, and it affected me quite a lot. But we have Slave One now,
right?
So I'm like, I think that's gonna be his new ship.
Well, it's good to no. You think Din's gonna?
I think he's gonna add some because they're teaming up now. No idea what's gonna happen to them. What's gonna happen to Boba, etc. I think we are like Din has to get an iconic ship, something that the fans love or something new. But I'd rather say it's gonna be Slave One.
See, I don't like that idea, to be honest.
No.
The reason why is Din's already too much of a copy of Boba Fett to begin with. I mean, not copy, but a way. Like when he starts the Mandalorian show, he's dressed in Mandalorian armor. He looks a little bit like Boba Fett. So it's almost like this is not Boba Fett, but so it's like I don't want anything more to be like, oh yeah, it's Boba Fett Part 2. I want them to be separate characters, and having like the Rocket Pack we were talking about earlier, then giving him Slave One, it just seems like you're basically why we have Din? Why we just have a Boba Fett show? Because basically you want to have Boba Fett, and you're gonna have all Boba Fett's things, and you're just gonna give him somebody else. You know what I mean? So to me, it's too. I think giving him Slave One would be a mistake. I think Boba Fett keeps Slave One and either does his own thing. I don't know. So unless you kill out Boba Fett and have it go that way, but still that still feels cheap to me.
I don't think they'll kill him off.
Oh, yeah, and if not, then it feels like it's a waste. It's like then Boba Fett should keep Slave One. It's his family. It's his father's ship. It's his ship. There's no reason to give it over to Din. He'll use it for a couple episodes for the rest of the season. I think we're going to see Boba Fett the rest of the season. Now, the last 2 episodes, you'll see him there, and we'll have Slave One, and then he'll get another ship at the beginning of next season, or somehow at the end of the season. But so yeah, but it was cool. It was a little bit surprising to see that happen. I didn't like in a way. It's kind of
happened
My
very
initial thought was
abruptly.
my initial thought was like, it's kind of silly because like you know that Gideon had the tracker on the Razor Crest, but since they're getting the child, I guess they don't need to track the Razor Crest anymore. So I think it's made let's kind of strand them on there at least. And they don't really know about Slave One at that point. So, so yeah, but you're right. So Razor Crest goes, sadly, to a degree, but
You're heartless.
I am heartless. I'm a little heartless. It doesn't bother me. It's like the fucking Millennium Falcon. It's not like it's like Slave One.
It didn't have the opportunity to.
Yeah.
They destroyed it.
It shocked me. It did shock me. Like just how quickly it just went boom. I was like, whoa. Okay.
That was surprising. I'll definitely give you those surprising. I'll give you that for sure. We'll get the Dark Troopers coming down. Oh,
yeah.
You know what? I one thing before I want to say, one of those little Easter egg moments for me. I love the homage to Indiana Jones with the boulder.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Boulder.
And it crunches him too. It's another those violent things. Those like the armor starts splattering up. That I was like, I could hear the Indiana Jones theme playing in my head. But going back to another homage, I thought the Dark Troopers come down and it kind of reminded me of Lord of the Rings. It kind of reminded me of Hilltop.
Yes.
And coming to stab Frodo or whatever. That's like kind of the whole thing that reminded me of that. And like
just converging on him from all sides.
And like that top angle they had like that, like the Miles Morales. So that really I love you know how much I love Lord of the Rings. So that really I was like, oh, I like that imagery. Really like that imagery.
To me, that was the coolest shot of the whole thing, just seeing them all come down together and then the boots just come up all at the same time. And as soon as Moff Gideon said, are the Dark Troopers online? And they were like, yep, momentarily. I was like, here we go.
You're big trouble now.
Here we go.
Right.
Seeing them all like come down. They look amazing. I don't know if anyone's ever seen it was an old cartoon like back in the 90s, Gargoyles, which used to have it, and they had like the Robo gargoyles that they made. They look like those to me, and I was like, oh, this is perfect. This is exactly what I wanted. They all come down together, the boots all come up, and then like you say, it's like the Nazgul descending down on Hilltop, like
and Din trying to fight his way up and not quite making it at that point.
Also kind of looked like Cylons just a bit. I know I'm stealing this from the Sen review, but I got the same vibes as well. It looked a little bit like Cylon.
I haven't watched that review. I have to watch that. I always try to watch it like a couple of days later after, but it's always after I do this show because I usually end up watching Mandalorian at like 5 o'clock my time, and then I go to work, and then I don't want to watch other reviews to like color mine in a way. That's just my own thing, but I'll watch it later on. Definitely, I do like those reviews. So there we go. Got the Dark Troopers get them, or get this kid, and they go away, and you're left with Boba, Fennec, and Din. And I love the fact that because of the promise that Boba had met later on, that's the honorable side of it. He's like, I made you a promise. Even though it wasn't even like
that is surprising.
It was almost something that was said. It didn't sound like a promise when it was met, when it was said originally. It was kind of more like you give us the armor and we'll make sure we won't do anything to you. And we'll leave you unmolested, so to speak. But then like the Empire takes the kid, like they took it personally. Like, all right, well, we're gonna go with you and get the kid back, basically, because that's what we said. And I'm like, wow, okay. So Boba Fett's definitely got an honorable code, and he's shown it before. He's shown it at times. There's times like in Clone Wars, he showed it. He would like get challenged on something, or else he would be supposed to do something to be really evil, but he never quite took that extra step. So I think it's good for his character they did that. I'd like to see him come back and continue to go on with the journey at least a little bit. I mean, I don't think he's going to be a permanent fixture in the show, but I think for the rest of the season we're going to get him. So
that was a very surprising thing that he said that we promised to. Like Din says, so our deal is complete. Like pretty much, if you're a bounty hunter, if you're a simple man making your way through the galaxy, this is the simplest way. You don't need to get more involved.
Right.
So this was. I feel like he got his armor back. That's his father's armor. He was a foundling. There's a little bit of that creed in him as well. That's where that came from.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with that.
It was really surprising to me.
Yeah, Din had Boba feels a kinship with Din a little bit in that same kind of way. He was an orphan just like him, an orphan who grew up as a Mandalorian in a way. So it definitely works.
They padded the character with a feature that I didn't think he has. So that was a cool thing.
Yeah, very, very cool indeed. So they go back to Navarro and they try to figure out what they're going to do next. That was interesting when they showed Cara Dune. I don't know if you saw these. They went through and they go through all the criminals.
Mm-hmm.
In the list, you see Bill Burr's character. You see like different like races. I love it. I loved seeing all that stuff. That was kind of cool to see.
Are you happy about Bill Burr returning?
I'm fine with Bill Burr returning. I never had a problem with him. A lot of people didn't like his Boston accent. I was like, "Fuck it, it's fine." You're getting
everyone else can sound like me, right? Everyone else can sound like with a British accent. That's cool. That's good. But you put a Bostonian in there, and it's like, oh no, not that accent. We're fine with the other one, but that one, no, keep that one out.
Monty's saying good factor. That's right. Greg Weisman, the creator of Gargoyles, wrote the Kanan Jarrus comic book, which expanded on his backstory. That's very true. It was a good comic too. Pretty good comic. They did a little bit of a. It took if you want to look back, it takes Kanan at a certain point in Rebels, like somewhere. I think it's like around season 1 or 2 in that area. They're like on this mission, and Kanan gets hurt, and so you see a current story, but then there's a flashback of all what happened during Order 66 and his interaction with the clones and his like getting away and that kind of stuff. Really cool comic. I actually enjoyed it quite a bit. So, anyway,
if you don't mind, let's rewind again a bit before they talk to Kara. When they look through the rubble, when Din looks through the rubble and he picks up his staff, the Beskar staff.
Oh yeah.
So and that's that he shows it to Boba and he goes, "That's Beskar." Yeah. That my first thought is like, Din hasn't used the staff before. Boba just showed us what he can do with the staff. Do you think that's where he will learn some skills, or does he already have them?
I think I wouldn't be surprised if he taught him a little bit, or I don't know if they'll show it like a montage or anything, training or anything else.
But up in the mountains,
the composer for the montage. Yeah.
Little, we have the Rocky music pretty much. Exactly. Music pretty much there to go, so we could do that. But I think that's a good, interesting point. I think definitely it would make sense. Definitely makes sense because we already got one in there. Might as well get the second one in there. I think I love how they keep hyping up Beskar. They hype it up more and more. Like it's like it's like they have to knock in the head and go, this stuff is pretty cool. This stuff's really hard. It's going to stop this laser blast. It's going to stop the lightsaber kind of thing, potentially. That's why I think it's going to be a big thing. That's why I know somebody said, I forget who said it. Somebody I was reading was saying something about like they think that the Dark Troopers are going to be made out of Beskar armor.
No, I asked that last time because
that's right.
I knew that their armor was like way stronger than your average trooper, so I figured, are they Beskar? What is that made of?
And potentially it could be, and it makes sense now, especially more and more we see because we're going to see at the end they're going to be the big baddie of the season, so to speak, partially at least, and it's going to end up being lightsaber versus that potentially at some point. I don't know what to say, but Beskar is definitely being reminded. You're definitely being reminded that Beskar is pretty powerful. So,
for sure. But you're talking about the big baddie of the season. We do get another glimpse of a weapon at the final minutes of the show.
Cool. Moff Gideon walking in, seeing Baby Yoda kicking some ass there, just force choking left and right. It's funny. Kim asked me this too. She's like, "Wait, force choking is like a dark side power, isn't it?" I'm like, "Well." It isn't. I mean, it's kind of like I kind of likened it because she's a big Harry Potter fan too. I kind of likened it like to doing like a curse.
Yeah,
like, have to like mean the evil curse in a way. This is not evil, but you got to have some violence and anger going on to choke somebody. We've only seen. Obviously, we saw Darth Vader do it. That's obviously evil. We've seen Anakin do it when he was going evil. We did see Luke do it. In Return of the Jedi, he chokes out the Gamorrean guard a little bit when he's trying to pass.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of that's how where the light side Jedi had used the dark force choke or the force choking power or whatever. The only thing we haven't seen a good Jedi do is use Sith lighting. That's like the only thing we've ever seen the good Jedi do. Yoda kind of blocked it and redirected it, but so I don't know what I have to see about that. But it is showing. But I think. More importantly, instead of getting the Monty, you're killing me, Monty. You're killing me, Monty. You know better.
Not this guy.
He's busting my balls about my Star Wars character tier listing. I think I did.
Good. I was happy with it. You put them all in S tier. You know, I appreciate that.
I knew you would. I think my own personal tier is a little bit different. I think I had Vader and Palpatine 1 too, but that's all it is.
I'm having some audio issues again. I can't hear Paul at all. I can hear Maddie fine.
Really? You want to just jump out and jump back in?
It's weird.
You can jump out and jump back in. That's
okay,
fine.
You're back. You're back.
I'm back.
So
I'm back.
There we go.
Turns into very robotic for me at some point.
That's weird. Okay. So what I was saying, though, that all this talk about good versus evil as far as Jedis go and Force choking, I think that even though Luke has done it, it's not completely a dark side power. It has definitely always been shown to be related to the dark side. Mm-hmm. So I think they're using that to show Grogu having those temptations, having that potential to be a dark side at that point. No, that's a good point, actually. Right, did use Force lightning and Rise of Skywalker, didn't say, but at the same time, it was like she's a Palpatine granddaughter at that point. Spoiler.
Mm-hmm.
So she had the potential for being evil.
You're watching this, and this is a spoiler for you, man.
Yeah, so I'd be kind of surprised if you hadn't seen it if you're watching this. But so I mean, so I guess it does make sense that it does fall into that Luke barrier, except for that was specifically Rey was specifically being tempted with the dark side, and had Palpatine in her a little bit, and so that I think that kind of makes that an exception, I would think. But it's a good question, and it's definitely worth debating and talking about. Maybe at a different time we'll go more into something like that. But going back to what I was saying is that I do think it's showcasing. Pat, I love you. It's showcasing. It's showcasing that as a way to show that Grogu has potential to go dark. You see Gideon smiling at it even in a way. Mm-hmm. So it was very interesting to me. And again, you see Moff with the darksaber. That was basically, hey, remember I got this. Hey guys, remember I got this. And I was going to show off my cool darksaber. I'm gonna whip it out. I'm gonna whip it out. Give me a saber pick. You know what I mean? That kind of thing.
Kind of like Darth Maul at the very end of Han Solo.
Yeah,
the Solo.
No reason to like the lightsaber, but
this.
I got this. Remember this? Yeah, you know.
Remember, I have this. Right. I know how to use it. Don't text me.
And how heartbreaking was it to listen to Grogu just panning, just being tired?
Yeah,
that was tough.
Very tough. But he's touching
the fight.
He's touching the Force. That's the important thing at this point. So it's going to be a good thing in the end, I think. We're gonna hope, though. So that's where we ended up. The one last thing we didn't talk about there really is that picture I had there. He does touch out. He does reach out and touch somebody because he's obviously getting some information from somewhere. So hopefully, are we going to get that next episode, do you think, or are we going to wait till the last episode?
I think this is the last episode. No, that is what I said at the beginning of the episode. I feel like this season is going to end with them going their separate ways for a brief time. I feel like there's still some story there for sure. But I think a Jedi probably, if I had to guess, I feel like there's a lot of Ezra talk. It feels like your obvious pick. But so I think the very final episode of this season, I feel like the Jedi is going to show up. That's going to be our a teaser.
Whatever Jedi it is.
Yeah. So next episode, I feel like is gonna just getting. So that was the 6th, 7th. Yeah, 7th is them getting Grogu back. Hopefully, we don't know. Maybe the Jedi who shows up is going to be breaking out Grogu. They might fail because that is a hard place. That is a freaking cruiser full of. Yeah, that is dark troopers everywhere.
Yeah,
get in.
Interesting to say. Very interesting to see what's going to go down with that. Yeah, I agree. I don't think we're going to see the Jedi until the last episode as well. I think it might be the final battle they're involved with, and all of a sudden the Jedi comes up to save the day. That could be something like that, kind of last minute, all of a sudden, oh my God, there's the Force in there. That would make it, especially more sense if it's like Luke. Imagine you're having they're having a big battle sequence or something like that. Also, a green lightsaber pops up. Ooh. And you hear the Luke's a Jedi theme there a little bit. That would be good.
I have an ulterior theory. I don't think it's going to be a Jedi. I think it'll be a Jedi showing up. There are, and I know it's canon. There are a clan of the Night Sisters still out there.
Yeah, and the magistrate supposedly,
Exactly.
according to I guess what a wardrobe person or something, said that she was supposedly descended from the Night Sisters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the mirror, whatever it is. That could definitely be a potential thing. Hey, PC, always good to see it. Binge it. Go all the way through. You know who else is binging it now more? Is Ben Bateman. I talked to him last night.
Good.
Ben Bateman stopped during season 1, but he's going to try to catch up so he can watch like the finale in real time, he said. So I can talk to him about that. Hopefully.
I have a theory as well. I don't think it's going to happen, but it's just something that popped to my head, is that who's going to show up to save Grogu still might be Ahsoka. And I know this is like a far-fetched theory that, we don't know where The Mandalorian is going. We probably will be getting an Ahsoka series. So it's a reach, but hear me out. Like, Ahsoka comes back for Grogu, saves him, decides to take him under her wing, decides to be his master. And that is the Ahsoka series. Now, Grogu transfers to the Ahsoka series, and we get a Master Padawan thing going on. And The Mandalorian, that's like a story arc that finishes for The Mandalorian, but Din has another adventure ahead of him, a different kind of adventure. Doesn't have to be with Grogu. Can be something completely different.
Could absolutely happen. I don't think you're wrong. I think the funny thing,
I probably am wrong.
You probably are.
Just a theory.
No, I could see that happening, especially because you have Bo-Katan out there. He still has to deal with his coming to terms with, okay, this isn't the way. Like, I've been part of this zealot cult my entire life.
Right.
Okay, I got to go deal with that. And they've got Bo-Katan out there. She's going to be reclaiming Mandalore.
Exactly. That's
he's
the storyline.
Obviously going to be a part of that. That could be part 2. And then when that whole thing comes together, you have Ahsoka come back, you have Grogu come back, you have Bo-Katan, and everyone, the gang, all back together, kind of like an Avengers movie. Like I said last week, it was like it's going to be the Filoni-verse. It's like this joins to this, joins to this, joins to this, and then you have the Avengers at the end of it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Just like CW did. Yeah, Arrowverse. Just like, these shows converging at some point.
Could very well be. I mean, I will say, I think that it's, I almost feel like that wasn't going to happen before. Like, maybe they had this plan to do that, but what if they're second guessing themselves now, thinking about trying to take the Mandalorian out of the show, or taking Baby Yoda out of the show? Because he's such an ingrained part of it now. That almost feels like they might want to rewrite it anyway to keep him in. Because can you imagine the Mandalorian without?
That's why I'm so hesitant. But I think Maddie gave us if we need a big storyline for Mando without Grogu, like that is the storyline that I would be like 100% on, like getting back Mandalore, and getting Bo-Katan to be the leader of Mandalore. So that is a cool storyline that I'd be okay with.
Yeah, me too. Pat's had a question there. There is this Jedi, I think his name is Luke Skywalker, who we know who starts the Jedi Temple. It's possible Baby Yoda ends up there. Obviously, he survived Ben's temper tantrum and is still alive. I posited that to the wife, not the surviving part. I posited to wonder if he does end up in Luke's temple and he's one of the students that Ben kills. I could say
I don't want to think about that, Paul. I don't want to think about that.
Going to a dark place. A very dark place.
Yeah,
it's kind of funny. We all fell in love with Grogu and all his whole adventures, and Grogu gets saved all this time. He makes it, only to die at the hands of Ben Solo.
That is not even funny.
Yeah, why would you joke?
Please don't.
Then they edit the scene in The Last Jedi where they have the flashback and like they do with fucking The New Hope and everything, and they put another scene in there, and it's like, it's just like Kylo Ren just gutting Grogu from different angles.
Different angles. You can see like somewhere Din.
This took a turn.
This is a good turn.
I do have one theory, and we kind of brushed on it earlier about the end of the series. I don't think Boba Fett is in this team up for very long.
I don't either.
I think he's gonna pull a double cross, because how did he know that Din was on Tython, right? He says he's been tracking him. How did he know he's there? Yeah. Tython is in the deep core. How would he know to possibly look there?
Honestly speaking, it's funny you bring it up, because I did wonder about that myself. Because as soon as he came in, I was like, I know one person.
I figured the Empire sent him.
Yeah, I actually said the exact thing to Kim as well. I was like,
I think he's the source.
did Boba get sent by Moff Gideon to collect the child? But maybe he's playing both sides also. It could be one of those things where he's playing both sides.
That's where it makes sense that it was so honorable. That he actually isn't.
Yeah, you never know. We'll have to see how that can go. We'll have to see.
I think he's the source that confirmed that the child is still there, because if you remember in the first episode, they're riding along on the speeder bike. The child's on the bike. Boba would have seen him.
Yep.
So it could be he could double cross, and then hopefully Din kills him and takes Slave One. It's kind of like a, hey, you turn on me, I'm gonna take your ship.
Could be, but again,
Paul doesn't like that. Paul doesn't like
that.
I love it, especially if he double crosses him. He's like, no, you double cross me, I'm gonna kill you, and then I'm gonna take your ship, and I'm gonna take your daddy's armor.
That's all too much for me. I think I don't know. I don't. I think I would if Din wasn't a Mandalorian dressed in Mandalorian armor, I'd be liking it more. But it's just too redux for me. I can't see it happening and making it work. Although I will say, in Filoni and Favreau, I trust. They've earned my trust to do things. So if they're going to do it, they probably find a way to make it work for me. That's all I got to say about that. But
did you hear about the rumors also? If we're going back to the previous week, that George Lucas was on set when they shot the Ahsoka episode.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, apparently he was. Like, there was Arya Dawson scenes. So, like, I was just thinking that it feels like to me that Filoni and Favreau, they are the new. I hate saying the word, but like the new Lucas, the next Lucas, who will take the story forward.
Filoni's Lucas' heir apparent for sure.
Very nice.
I feel like Favreau is now a very important part of that team up as well.
Agreed. I agree.
Yeah. That's someone who can, like Filoni has done the animated shows. I feel like Favreau is now getting him invested in live action.
Well, that's kind of what I said. I think Filoni is like, that's why he's doing this, is to train to do live action, and Favreau's the one to train him. Real quick, we do have a Streamlab. I didn't check a while ago, not 25 minutes ago. So sorry about that. But Movie Fanobi, Steve, I love it, man. He's a very big supporter of me, all the stuff I do in action, and this channel as well. A very generous donation, so really, really appreciate that. It says, PLD, I recently watched Needful Things. Hello, Mr. Ed Harris. I love Needful Things. Have you ever seen that movie?
No.
Stephen King movie with Ed Harris as like the lead. It's Ed Harris and Max von Sydow as Max von Sydow plays the devil, basically, and Ed Harris plays
nice.
The local town sheriff. It's a good movie. It's very fun. It's a very good book too. So this season has Amanda has really elevated the content. I don't know if this season the Mandalorian has really elevated content, probably. I'm not sure if it was a typo or not. So if you're still in the chat, Steve, you can throw it in there. We'll find out. But I'm a little partial to last week's episode, but another solid one. I can't participate because I'm driving in for work, but he's listening. Yeah, there's a couple typos that way, but that's it. I think that's what he meant. I think it basically he's elevated the content, but that so last week's episode was a favorite, but this one's another solid one. I get that. I mean, if I had to pick between the two, I prefer last week's episode too, a little bit.
Oh, for sure.
Jedi lore and all that stuff, but this was pretty kick-ass too. So.
I prefer this one.
There you go. There it is. Mando. Yes, voice text. Perfect. I you know what, that doesn't surprise me at all, Maddie, for you. The screen when I watched it, I tried to screen out Maddie for him. So all right, great. Any last comments we have? Do we want to talk about what we think is going to happen next week, or what do you think?
This is probably going to be the rescue op, either a failed one or a successful one, because it kind of follows the first season that Baby Yoda gets taken at some point. Now Din has to get him back. So we're kind of, the blueprint in a way is kind of the same. So I feel like this could take an even darker turn, maybe. Them trying to get Grogu back, but maybe failing. And that's when the Jedi or the Force user comes into play to help out.
Fair enough. What about you there, Maddie?
I think this will be the kind of last side quest episode that we're going to get before the grand finale. We got this one, and then we got the finale. They're going to be springing Mayfield out of jail. I can't remember. Right. He's in some field somewhere, and they're gonna look to break him out. I think we're gonna see a little bit of tension between Mando and Boba.
Well,
A
And
little
Mayfield
bit.
as well.
Mayfield.
Oh, 100% between Mayfield.
He's
Mayfield,
pissed.
he's gonna come out and he's gonna be like, "What? There's two of you now? What the hell?"
Pretty much. Fuck you. Why am I
Who
gonna
can
help?
do a Boston accent? Like,
Fuck you. No, you're actually, and I agree with Maddie. That was my thought process too. I don't think it'd be quite as fillery as it could be. I think it's going to be. Oh, hey, Barty, what's going on? I think we're going to see them. The episode's going to be them getting Mayfield out. But we're also going to see. I think what we're going to see, as far as the lore goes, and potentially not being a filler, is what happens with Grogu. I think you might see Gideon get Grogu back to Dr. Pershing, and we find out a little bit more about what they're doing, like whether it's involving Snoke or whether it's involving Palpatine or whether it's involving something completely different, or is the potential bombshell to be found out that Moff Gideon is actually reporting to somebody, and that somebody is a certain blue-skinned.
Don't excite me like that, Paul. Don't excite
Well,
me like that. Because if he shows up,
very possible.
oh, if he shows up, that would be.
Might not even have to show up. He might just you get some kind of hint. You see a blue tinge of skin, or you see somebody
A hologram?
Right, a hologram, or like
Or the white uniform.
Right, with the white uniform, exactly. So you never know. But I think that's what's going to happen. And then you're right. The last episode will be the attempt to get Grogu back, the near failure, the arrival of whatever Jedi it's going to be, and that's what the end of the season. That's how we'll end the season.
Who is directing the next episode? The next 2 episodes.
Rick Famuyiwa, I think.
Oh, you're right. Famuyiwa has to be in there. Yep, for sure.
I think Favreau directs the last one, I believe.
Probably.
So that's going to be massive.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's
What
that.
a lineup,
That's the question. Do we have him without addressing Ezra? I wonder about that too. But I was talking about crossovers before. I do think that this could be a way we could have a crossover. Thrawn could be a crossover villain. Because you don't have to have Thrawn. Like you'd have Thrawn talking to Gideon, and if Gideon might die in the last episode, but I think he said something about you're going to see more Gideon in season 3. I think I remember reading that quote Giancarlo Stanton said that because Zito said that you're going to see him more in action in season 3. So that would be the way. Maybe touches base with Thrawn to get a name drop. You get maybe a visual of him in a white uniform, so you know that Moff Gideon answers to somebody. But then you still let him do his thing in season 3, whereas Thrawn then goes into the Ahsoka series more, and that's where we find out more about Ezra. That's what happened there. That'll be the Rebels sequel series, so to speak, at that point. That's my thoughts on that.
I did have one thought about how they could introduce Thrawn, and it's a really quick one. It's they go to Mandalore. They're trying to take back Mandalore. They go into the throne room, and sitting on the throne of Mandalore is Thrawn.
That'd be cool too.
That's how I picture it in my mind. Please just give me that moment. But them sitting there, kind of like Darth Maul did, just like, but you didn't expect me here.
I love that. That's one of my favorite shots of Maul right there. So, to go Filoni fashion, he made it seem like it was possible as this Ahsoka episode takes place before the final scenes of Rebels. That's true too. And actually, not only did he make it seem like it was possible, he actually made it seem possible in an interview. Somebody was talking to him about that, and he didn't deny it, didn't say it was, but he said that the final. You both watched Rebels?
I've seen up until where Darth Maul shows up, like 5 episodes after that. That's where it broke off from there. But don't worry about spoilers.
Okay. It's not even that. I don't mean that big of a spoiler, but the ending of Rebels, there is like an epilogue to it. Basically, the show ends right around the time of Rogue One and that kind of thing. Hello, Bador, my wifey.
Hey, Bador.
Love to see you. I have to get you on one of these too, Bador. You're gonna have to hop on one of these episodes one day, and while we talk about Mandalorian. I know you do your own show with and the Holocron and everything else, but I love getting your thoughts as well. So Rebels ended, and then there was like a coda that they showed, which was like because they ended right about Rogue One, and then they showed what happened to the Rebels crew, who was left the Rebels crew after Return of the Jedi. So you see that because it's just like so they have this like dialogue that goes over the top. You see Hera and what they're going through, and they talk about this mission potentially, but they only really say that it was. They only really say that it was post Jedi. They never really said how post Jedi this was taking place. So there is the possibility that Ahsoka's appearance in Mandalorian takes place before that sequence happened in Rebels, where she comes back and meets up with Satine. Or it's not Satine, Sabine. I always say Satine because I love Satine from the Clone Wars, with Sabine, and does that whole mission at that point. So we could be seeing something completely different. And I didn't think about that until Filoni mentioned it. But Filoni, as always, it never comes clean. He's always like, well, I don't know. It could have.
I hate it when he does that. I
Dave Filoni. I love Dave Filoni, but fuck you, Dave Filoni. At the same time.
It's like just come out with it. Stop honey dicking us. Just say it. Is it gonna happen or not? Or keep
I love
your
it
mouth
and hate
shut.
it. I love it and hate it. I gotta tell you, I love it and hate it. Every time they ask like Ahsoka's living or not, and she'd be like, maybe. He did. I don't know if he denied. He said it's possible. That's the way I didn't actually get a chance to actually hear the quote or read the interview. So I don't love the idea when I heard it, but I do love the fact that he's open to the idea, and like, because the more we don't know, honestly, it's better. You know what I mean? To me, the more we don't have things hammered down, and I think it leaves them that room to maneuver and surprise us. Because when we get these thoughts in our head about this is the way it's going down, and all of a sudden they pull that possibility out there, like, oh, maybe I don't know what's going on, and that makes it more fun. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I like to think that in the writers' room as well, they've got the board for writing, like their main storyboard and everything. They've got another board that says fan theories, and they're like, okay, like which one of these can we take? Well, that one seems quite in line with it. That it was before the last one. Let's take that one. Someone said that. Don't give anyone any credit, but
I think it goes the other way around. I think they actually have a billboard out. They do what they're going to do, and they show fan theories. Oh, they said that. Oh, we're not going to do that anymore.
Can't do that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That would make more sense. And I'm pretty sure that's something that they're definitely keeping track of, the fan theories.
Great. Jarvis, close your eyes for 1 second. I know you don't care about spoilers, but I want to show something real quick. There. That I wonder too, Monty. I do wonder if that's going to be a big part. I think you will. I do think you will. Yeah. I like the idea, so we're going to do that. You're good now, Jarvis. You're good.
I connected to the Force. I fought the urge.
And good morning, guys. Good to see you. Good food morning. Yes, food morning. All right, that's what we're going to do. Any last thoughts? We're about an hour here, so we'll take this as our opportunity to say goodbye and to see you next week. Maddie, where can the folks find you?
So you guys can find me on Twitter at Matty Gunner, on Instagram Matty_Gunner, and you can find me every Wednesday and Sunday over on the Wild Jones Podcast Network, and now on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Matty Gunner TV for the ONU MMA show.
Very nice, very nice. Jarvis, where can the folks find you?
You can find me at Miggs Mayfield on Facebook. Okay, at Richard Eric.
I wasn't going to say anything.
Dude, like I looked at Mayfield pictures, and I'm like, dude, it's kind of a weird thing to say, but I see a similarity there. If I shaved my beard, kind of learned the Bostonian accent, I think it would be cool cosplay.
Wait, you know what? She has a theory she brought up yesterday. Do we want to invite her on for 5 minutes? Do we have there 5-10 minutes we can wait? Do you have
for sure?
Bador, I'm going to send you a link. You can come on and tell your theory. Okay. Hold on, let me add that for you. If you can come on, Bador, can you come on? Let me know.
Do it.
I'll give
in the meanwhile, I'll just say where the people can actually find me. Richard Eric with a KJRV on Facebook and Instagram. And tomorrow, me and Paul will be doing class action, and we will be pitting. Sorry?
I was about to actually show that. If you give me a second, I'm going to jump over.
Okay, I'm not going to spoil it yet. We're going to be pitting two actors against each other to find out who is best.
Look at that. And we're on class action all of a sudden.
There we go.
There we go. Wow.
Yes. Damon versus Affleck.
Ben Affleck.
Natty decided who is the better man.
Who wins? Who wins this cage match? But
So that's going to be tomorrow. Paul, when it's actually airing.
Yeah, it's probably going to be. I think it's going to be noon Pacific, 3:00.
That's right.
3:00 Eastern time. So we'll stall her in while we're waiting to see if Bador is going to hop on. I did send it to you on Twitter. I will say where I'm going to be found. Actually, she said it right here. Maybe she's not going to join us, but she'll say here, what if Baby Yoda can talk, but refuses to due to the trauma he experienced at Order 66? She communicated with Ahsoka. What if he speaks the last episode? That is a good theory. That's the big. Just can't come on now. Okay, that is the big thought process. What happens if finally you don't get the coups anymore? He comes out and speaks, and he tells us a story about that. That is intriguing and interesting. I look to see. What do you guys think about that?
Do you think he can already, I feel like they're understanding each other pretty much. They are conversing, even with Din, and Ahsoka sure talked through the Force, but I feel like they're interacting already.
They're starting.
It kind of feels like to me that it's going to be more like Chewie and Han, that they're speaking different languages, but they understand each other. I already figured that's where we're going because it feels like that's what's happening.
Potentially. What do you think, Manny?
That is a very good point. The whole Han and Chewie, both different dialects. I would like to hear him say something like "This is the way," just because I think that would be a cool little moment, just to hear little baby Dave say "This is the way" or "May the Force be with you," and then be like, "Hey, don't say that. Calling it now." The first thing he'll say is no. I mean, he's a baby, so.
Although I don't know, this one seems good too. Dude, you can take the helmet off to pee. It's not that serious. I think that's a line right there. That's a perfect line for Baby Yoda to say. But I like the theory. I don't know what they would say first, but I think it'd be kind of a cool way to end it. I like that idea. So I have to say, maybe that's what it is. He's definitely Action Army. So we'll just say, so we'll say salute, and that's where we'll end that. Real quick, I can tell you where you can find me, folks, at Paul _ News on Twitter. You can find me here at PLD Projects. I do this Mandalorian show with Richard Charvey and Maddie Gunner every week, and maybe we'll get Bador on if we can at some point. I'll have to talk to her about it. I'd love to talk to her about Star Wars, as always. We'll be doing another, generally speaking, probably this weekend, sometime late night tier making. I'm not sure what yet. Haven't gotten that far into it. You'll also find me on Action Industries. Look at yesterday's episode of Action Unfiltered. I got to co-host with Ben Bateman. That was a lot of fun. And also Call to Action, of course. And coming up next on the SCN network. And coming up soon, I'll be on the Holocron again, doing a Star Wars watch along. They were doing those on Let's Get Ready to Talk Showdown podcast on Twitch. Those were a lot of fun as well with her, Badora, and with Justin Hamilton, and various other guests, of which I will be one.
What Bador just said, exactly. Like I told you, we've been getting this. Hope to see you again with. I have spoken. Why I can't remember his name.
Cobb Vanth?
No, not Cobb Vanth. First season. Quill.
Oh, Quill. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good.
So that's where I was like, that's how he died.
Yeah.
That he had an ally. He came back to help. They killed him off. Now I'm afraid if Cobb Vanth comes back, hope nothing happens to him.
I hope not to. I really do hope not to. And I will say this: 2 episodes in left on a 10-month wait. That's true. But you might get the Cassidy Andor series at that point, and I'll definitely be doing something involving that somewhere. That's all I'll say about that. Of course, Obi-Wan starts filming in March too. So,
oh my God, I can't wait. I can't.
That's coming. Star Wars is starting to feel like exciting again. I never lost my excitement to it, but I feel like it's getting more positive reaction at this point. I'm happy to see the community coming back together. He is pretty beautiful. You're not wrong.
He's a good looking man.
Timothy Oliphant is a very beautiful man.
I'll say it. We're like, yeah, he's a snack, man. He's a snack.
He's a stud.
What about Mayfield though? He's pretty handsome too.
Get a pint to me, and I'd let Bill Burr have a look.
All right, guys. Have a great morning. Talk to you guys soon. I hope you enjoy as much as I did. Thanks for the support as always. Love you guys. And as always, on this or another channel, I salute you guys. Take care.